All right, what is going on? Welcome to episode 18 of Asset Creators. Today, I'm going to be hitting the whiteboard and I'm going to be talking to you about how I'm gamifying my solo business with basketball. Now, if you're wondering if this is for you because you might not like basketball, the person who needs to watch this video right now is somebody who, their business might feel a little stuck, a little boring, a little dull. You might feel uninspired. And, maybe even like your hunger's gone a little bit, right? And that's who this video and this episode is going to be for, okay? That's going to be for you if you're one of those people, because the gamifying it is what, re-energizes and revitalizes it. So if you're one of those people, stick around. Also, if you just like basketball or you think, this idea sounds cool, stick around for that as well. So the first thing I want to mention before we even get into like how I'm doing this and all of that stuff is you don't have to use basketball, okay? So if you're watching this and you're like, I don't know anything about basketball, I don't like basketball, whatever, don't feel like to copy this, you have to use basketball, okay? I just want you to get inspired from this. Take the idea and see how you can relate it to you and your business and something that suits you, right? It could be a hobby you have. It could be another sport that you love, just a way to gamify it. I'm just gonna show you how I'm doing it because I love basketball. Basketball was my first love. It was the first thing I was ever consumed by. And so that's why I'm using it into my business, okay? So before we even hit the whiteboard, I wanna talk about why I'm gamifying my business. So full transparency, the last roughly 6 to 8 months, I've felt a little uninspired in my business, okay? And it's kind of funny comparing it to my first year and my second year because I was so hungry, so inspired. I was not gonna fail. I was all in. And it's not that I'm not all in now, but I was so focused on just not losing, right? And so my first couple years, very, very hungry, very, very, dialed in. And this year, I came into my 4th year of running my full-time solo business, and I just felt a little uninspired. And I've done a lot of soul searching about it, trying to figure out what's going on. What blocks do I have? Why am I feeling this way? And I've came to some realizations, and obviously this is one of them, not just basketball, but, losing that spark for the business. And the reason I chose basketball is because it was my first love, like I already mentioned, but more than that, it consumed me. So growing up, when I was, from grade 7 to grade 12, it was all I did. It was all I thought about. I slept with my basketball. Before school, I trained. At lunchtime, I played. After school, I trained. It was all I did. Summers, it was all I did, okay? And having something that I was, always trying to get better at was so, so important for me, okay? But also the competition. And this is where I felt some disconnect as I've been kind of growing in my business and doing business longer, was in basketball, you get very direct competition, right? You always see the scoreboard. You know if you're losing, if you're winning. You know how much time's left in the game. You have a opponent right in front of you trying to stop you, right? So there's like always this competition that's always in motion, okay? And that's what I felt like I was missing in my business, or a big part of what I was missing. And now I know in entrepreneurship, you can make friends who are more successful than you and you can compete with them. But it's more indirect, right? What I love is just that direct, I'm down this much, there's this much time left, this person's trying to stop me. That's what I thrive in, okay? So with that being said, I wanted to set the stage just so you know why I chose this, why I'm gamifying it, and why I think you should too, and find a way, especially if you're feeling uninspired or, a little lack of hunger right now, why gamifying your business could be, the missing thing. So with that being said, we're going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to break down these 6 things, and these six things are going to be explaining how I'm doing with basketball, but you are going to be able to find a way to find certain things that you can use for whatever hobby, sport, what game, it could be like a board game, whatever. However you decide to gamify your solo business, okay, you'll find your own categories. But for me, in basketball, there's a clear game length, okay? Now, here's the cool thing, is in basketball, right, there's 4 quarters. There's 4 quarters in basketball. But in business or in a calendar year, there's also 4 quarters, right? So there's 4 quarters in basketball and there's 4 quarters in a calendar year. So for me, I can just break it down into quarters and I can look at the full year is like one full game, right? And by the way, I'm treating it like it's game 7 of the NBA finals. So it's like the last game all on the line this year. So that's the first sort of relationship that I connected with the two, okay? The second one is there's an opponent, right? In basketball, you have a very clear opponent. Well, in business, it's not so clear. Yes, you can have friends who you are competing with, but the transparency isn't always going to be there. Someone could potentially lie about how much money they made or how well they're doing, or you're not always going to be in each other's business, literally, right? But with basketball, with what I'm doing here, is my opponent was me, my best year. So my opponent is me, my best year. Now, the beauty of doing this is there's always going to be that competitor. So if you choose a friend, you guys are going to have to like check in with each other once a day or once a week or get on a call, right? With this, I always know where my best year was. And I'll explain how when I get down here further to like keeping score and tracking stats. But I'm comparing myself to my best year. Now, I think this is actually extremely beneficial for me and probably for most of you as well, because it's really hard to start comparing yourself. Well, sorry, it's easy to do that, but it's hard on you when you're comparing yourself to other people out in the space. So, you know, competitors, people who are selling something to a similar audience that you do, right? You're going to see them as competition. Once again, how do you know if they're lying? How do you know if they're actually doing as well as they're saying they're doing, right? You don't, but you do know how well you did because it's your business. And also just the inner battle of just trying to be better than you were. It's like this meta relationship where it really pushes you to become a better version of yourself because you understand that, hey, this version of me was able to do this well in this quarter of this year. Well, if I need to beat that, I need to become a better version of myself. And so you're competing against past versions of yourself, and it's just beautiful. So that is what I'm doing for the opponent. Now, urgency. Because you might be asking me like, wow, Darian, one game is a whole year? Like, where's the urgency every single day? Well, the cool thing in basketball is there's a 24-second shot clock. Okay? Now, what that means if you don't watch basketball is every single time that you get possession of the basketball in the game, okay, you have 24 seconds to make a shot attempt. If you don't shoot it within that time, you have to give the ball to your opponent and they get possession. So you have to take a shot in 24 seconds. So it creates urgency. Without that, teams would just get the ball. If they're winning, they would just hold the ball the whole game, right? And that wouldn't be fun. It would be boring for everyone watching as well. So the cool thing is, you know, in real life, there's 24 hours per day. So there's 24 hours in a day. And so because this whole game is a whole year, it might seem long. But this urgency of every single day, I need to take a shot. And now, if we're thinking about what is a shot, right? It could be offers. It could be building something that's going to, you know, an asset. As you know, this is asset creators. It could be something that's going to, you know, build me wealth in the long term, okay? Or get me a client, or get me leads. Something to like generate business revenue, okay? So every single 24 hours, I need to take a shot or I lose possession of the basketball. And it's a turnover, which is a negative stat. So that's the cool thing about this. And now you might be even wondering, Darian, wow, you're just going to make one offer to one person a day? No. I've completely been switching the way that I'm doing so many things. And some of that is out of the scope of this specific episode. But, you know, just because you make one offer a day doesn't mean you can't generate a lot of revenue if you sell one to many, right? You can make one offer to multiple people or a bunch of people at one time. Right? And so that's what my goal is, right? Is to get people multiple people onto a call where I can make an offer to multiple people at once. And like I said, there's a lot more strategy behind that. Not important right now. Just to understand that there's urgency every day to take a shot, or the other team gets the ball, and now I'm losing because I made a turnover, and it's a negative stat. Cool. We'll keep moving on. I'm doing my best to not get too technical with like the basketball rules and stuff. Now, another thing you might be wondering is like, how do you keep score, right? Well, the best part is well, there's twofold. I created a scoreboard in Notion with a game clock, okay? So in Notion, I would show you my whole Notion dashboard, but it doesn't really make sense seeing as how all my business metrics are in there and stuff. And of course, like I'm not just going to reveal that all publicly, but in Notion, I created a scoreboard. So the scoreboard, just so you're clear, is specifically for the quarter. It's not for the whole year because there would be very little urgency there. But the scoreboard is for quarter two. So I know at all times, compared to my best year in quarter two, how much am I down and how much time is left in the quarter, right? So that's what is helping me keep score. I'm just doing it quarterly. So every single quarter, I can look back at my best year and I can say, okay, how much did I make this quarter that year, right? And whatever, that'll be the away. Because in basketball, there's like a home and an away team, two different teams, right? I'm the home team because, I'm the one doing this right now. The away team, my opponent, is my best year. So I'll have a scoreboard always. Like I open the Notion dashboard and I see how much time is left, the quarter scoreboard with the game clock. Okay? So you can start to see how this is all kind of coming together now. Hopefully it's not too confusing if you don't watch basketball. I'm doing my best to kind of keep it basic. But I'm always aware of the score. So every single time that I come into this room and I sit down and I go to start work, I open my Notion dashboard and I can see how much am I down compared to last quarter. Okay. So I know what the score is. Okay. I might be up too. And then I know how much time's left in the quarter. So, because remember, basketball, yes, there's a full game, but there is no time that shows the full game clock. It's only quarters. So every single quarter, there's 12 minutes in basketball, right? So every quarter for us is 3 months. So I know how much time is left. Final one, or the second final one, is tracking stats, right? So in basketball, there's a lot of stats. You can look at how you performed each quarter. How many points did you score in a quarter? How many rebounds did you get? Assists, things like that. That's not important. What is important is how I did this. So what I did was I went into my Stripe and I exported my whole Stripe as a CSV, and I exported all the transactions, how much I made each year, quarterly, down to the products, right? How many of this product did I sell? How many of this offer did I sell? Whatever, right? Not all of that is important for this right now, but the most important thing to understand is once I got that CSV, I put it into Google Gemini, and then I got it to create me like a table for Notion. And in that table, it showed me, okay, March of 2023, I made this much, right? July of 2025, I made this much. So I know monthly since I started, collecting payments in Stripe, how much money I've made. I know exactly how much I made each month, each quarter, each year. I have it all broken down to gross and net. Okay, so very important to track your stats. The cool thing about this is now when you're in there and you're playing the game, we're going to look at adjustments. Is you can always reference your best year or even your past year because you might. Your best year might not be your last year, but you can reference are you growing since last year, right? And so that's where we're going to go to adjustments, right? So in basketball, at the end of every single quarter, you get 2 to 3 minutes with your team to make adjustments based off how that quarter went, right? Obviously, for business, that would be at the end of every quarter, right? So what you get to do is you can improve based on the stats that you have at the end of every quarter. In basketball, there's a halftime as well, right? Which would be at the end of May, right? At the end of June would technically be halftime of the year. And halftime is like a longer thing. So I could technically take, a couple days and really go look at the first half of the year, the first half of the game, and see how I'm doing. But right now, I just want you to understand that at the end of every quarter in basketball and in business, you can make adjustments and take the data, the tracking stats that you've gotten, and improve. So that's pretty much from a bird's eye view, like what I'm doing, okay? And this is why it's been so fun for me now, because I get to wake up in the morning and I open my Notion dashboard and I see like the game clock and, oh, I'm losing right now. Oh, I'm down. There's only this much time left in the quarter. Oh, today I only have 24 hours to make a shot, or I'm going to get a turnover, which is a negative stat. I'm keeping score. I'm always looking at it. I'm always knowing how long the game is, and I'm making adjustments. Now, you don't have to make adjustments just at the end of every quarter, right? I like to plan and review my days every single day, so you can make adjustments on the fly as well, just like you probably would in any sport game, board game, any game. You would make adjustments on the fly as well. And so that's how I'm doing it. And it's really cool. I'm really excited about it. It's completely revitalized the way that I'm approaching my business. The best part is the numbers are very objective. Like when you export your Stripe, there's no lying, right? Full transparency. You can't really fake the numbers. It's in your Stripe. And so that's what's cool. It keeps you honest. You're competing with yourself, which also makes it really cool because now you don't have to worry about comparing yourself to other people who are probably lying or at least, glorifying or grandizing what they actually have done. And yeah, so that's how it works. And so what I want you to do and what I'm going to challenge you to do is to take this idea, okay, and see how you can use this in your business in some way. You don't have to go as crazy as me and create like a scoreboard in a Notion document or whatever. But if you can find a way to gamify your business, because hopefully if you're watching this and you're, doing a business, this is what you're going to do with the rest of your life, right? Like this is my career. This is what I'm doing. I love entrepreneurship. I love it. And so this is what I'm doing. So why not make it fun? Why not gamify? Why not connect it to something that you loved as a child, right? Something that was very true and a true passion. A lot of people say you can't chase your passions in business. Why not connect one of your passions to your business, right? And find ways to do that. So that's what I'm going to challenge you to do, especially if right now you feel like you're in a bit of a lull, maybe a bit of a valley instead of a peak, uninspired, all of those things. Try this. Think about how you can do this. And with that being said, if you want the Notion document for the notes of how I kind of went through this episode, it's going to be linked underneath the show. I always put the notes. You can sign up. You can get all the documents from every single show and everything that I'm teaching, sharing, all of that stuff. And with that being said, thanks so much for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.